Hello everyone, my name is Matt Scorpion and welcome back to another This Week in Destiny update. So, if you weren't aware, obviously because Thursday is Thanksgiving, everyone has that day off. That also includes the Bungie dev team, which means the This Week in Destiny Thursday update came out on Wednesday instead. And there is a few things to going off about. And now, allegedly, according to this, I see a lot of stuff, but some of the naysayers in my Discord says it was disappointing. Now, getting into the collaboration, I believe I mentioned this in my reset, but we have a Witcher Geralt of Rivia collaboration, which this is specifically Geralt. It's not like Witcher General, which explains why the Warlock isn't a Yennefer and we don't have a Hunter that's Ciri and then Titan Geralt. It is specifically Geralt, which explains why there's scars on all of the left eyes. Every class has two swords, and every class looks like they are in the business of hunting monsters. So, moving on from that as well. New artifact mods. We are getting the Queen's Foil Sensor next season, and we have a few things. So, starting in the first column, Anti-Bear's Sidearm, Unstoppable Hand Cannon, Unstoppable Bow, Overload Auto Rifles, and Overload Pulse Rifles. That's a first. I don't think there's ever been such a thing as Overload Pulse Rifles. Same thing with Unstoppable Bow, I forget. But Anti-Bear's Sidearm is one of the regular appearances. But aside from that, going into the new things, we have for column 2, Flame, Fiber, and Freeze, which combines the Solar Strand and Solar Stasis Siphon mods into one. Kindling Trigger, Radiant causes solo weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched combatants, so basically just a starting to Scorch. Blast Radius for rapid fires with rocket launcher, or rapid final blows with rocket launchers and grenade launchers, granting an armor charge. Origin perk specialization, improving the benefits by the Sundering, nano munitions, and nanotech tracer off origin traits. Additionally, these weapons are always overturned. Sundering is probably next season's seasonal one. From Whence You Came, increases ability to damage taken and scorn combatants. Ooh. And then third column, let's see. Flint Striker, rapid solar weapon precision hits and rapid solar weapon final blows grant Radiant. Torch, while Radiant, deal increased weapon damages to combatants affected by Strand and Stasis debuffs. Part of the Flame, casting your Solar Super grants nearby allies Radiant and increases the damage of your Super for each nearby ability. And another Origin perk specialization, increasing the benefits provided by Noble Deeds, Unsated Hunger, Head Rush, and Dragon's Vengeance origin traits. Additionally, weapons all with these traits are always overcharged. So I think Dragon's Vengeance is obviously the seasonal trait, and Sundering might be the dungeon one. Then we also have Wished into Being. While your super is nearly fully charged, ability final blows spawn orbs of power. Wearing Season of the Wish armor decreases super amount threshold. And then for column 4, starting to get an interesting one. Unraveling Ores, picking up an orb of power grants strand weapons unraveling rounds. That's nice. Pillar of Ice, killing a encased combatant, spawn a Stasis Crystal. Revitalizing Blast, causing damage with a solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. Overload rocket launchers, especially effective against Overload champion. That might be interesting for Yellowhorn. And then Dragon's Bite, breaking a combatant shield with a strand or stasis weapon has a chance to suspend or freeze that combatant. Wearing Season of the Wish armor increases the chance. And lastly, for column 5, Horde Shuttle. Damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling. So the Strand Tango one from last season to this season. Hail the Storm. Shattering encased targets and stasis crystals deal increased damage. Shattering a stasis crystal releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets. And then Rays of Precision, while Radiant Solar Final Blows or Solar Precision Final Blows cause commands to ignite. Solo Operative, basically when you are alone in the fire team, you deal increased damage to all combatants. And that's not your teammates are far. That is literally alone. So good time for solo dungeons. And then we also have Argent Ordnance. Firing a rocket launcher consumes 1 stack of armor charge, granting increased damage and reload speed until you reload or stow your rocket launcher. Man, they are really hedging the bet on solar and rocket launchers this season. They're really trying to make you use Dragon's Breath this season. So, I'm not going to lie to you, when I heard initially to be excited for Stasis, I was excited, but hearing it, I am no longer excited. There isn't a lot of Stasis. There's a lot of Solar, and some Strand and Stasis here. And honestly, I know they probably weren't going to, but I was really hoping that we would just have one season where there wasn't some sort of Strand buff in here. I've been using Strand all year. I would like to not for once. And then ability changes coming next week, ensuring that abilities, particularly those in longer cooldown tiers, are meeting the intended cost to output ratio. Reducing cases of player survivability that exceeded our power bar, making first steps at Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn tuning, and tuning past on Stasis abilities with more coming in the future. So, preview, let's see. A perk that grants 10% grenade energy on activation results in a cooldown reduction of 6.4 seconds to Firebolt. Both resist in a cooldown of 15.2 seconds for Lightning Grenade. When players stack both the... Let's see, here's an example of... Under the new system, a perk that grants a base value of 10% grenade energy on activation results in a cooldown reduction of 6.4 seconds for Firebolt and results in a 7.6 seconds for Lightning Grenade. Let's see. Season the Wish taken at first step at addressing these problems, starting the base passive cooldown tiers for abilities will also influence the amount of chunked energy they receive from perks. For fastest charging abilities, things are not changing, but we progress through passive cooldown tiers and do slower. The immediate burst of energy will be reduced to a floor of 50% of base. So, some reworking here. With Season the Wish, we're only implementing this change for grenade, melee, and class abilities. Perks that add super energy are unchanged. This all excluding any perk that intentionally grants a full refund, like Knock 'em Down, or targets only a single specific ability, like the Shinobu's Vow. These will still work identical to their behavior in game. Interesting. So, as well, stuff that keeps people alive. So, a Woven Mail nerf. Reduced damage resistance versus PvE combatants from 55 to 45, so not incredibly changed. Oh boy, they're reworking Restoration again, after it was already nerfed. So, the old was 40 health per second in PvE and 20 health per second. It's down to 35, and reduced healing rate at Restoration 2. Oh boy. I get that this is a survivability thing, but just nerfs across the board ain't gonna be it. You can't just nerf everything. And then Devour. Let's see. Healing amount, both on activation and when refreshed. Reduced from a full heal to 100 HP unless Feed the Void is equipped. Oh, they're shooting Devour in the foot. Now refills both health and shield sections more smoothly rather than adding health to each section separately. With Feed the Void, increased grenade energy and regeneration perk while Devour is active. The amount varies based on the type of target defeated. Now also improve the strength of Devour's heal when equipped. This is an ongoing process, so please continue to... I'm not going to lie, all this is going to be bad. I know a lot of this is crutch sort of stuff, Woven Mail, Restoration, Devour. It's go-tos for difficult stuff when you need to survive best you can. But if you're using something that gives you all the heals, you're not using something to do damage. So you're going to have to do this more often. Bungie, you made this game. Do you not understand that kind of trade-off? If you're doing more heals, you're not doing so much damage. Then Sprint and Slide Melees. Sprint and Slide active melees can no longer be activated at the player fires their weapon during a slide. This affects the following melee abilities. Basically everything that was cheesing in Crucible. Let's see. Players are currently able to circumvent this by sliding, firing their weapon, and still being able to initiate a shoulder charge. Yeah, that basically everything. Let's see. Seismic Strike for Arc, Shield Bash for Void, Hammer Strike for Solar, Howl the Storm, Consecration, Flechette Storm, Lightning Surge, and Tempest Strike. Anything you have to slide to melee is being adjusted so you can't do that shot thing before the melee. So you won't be able to cheese as much. Following the change, we're also increasing the potency of Tempest Strike, which has somehow been left behind, given the powerful synergy between Flow State and Lethal Current. Increasing base damage from 110 to 125, reworking tracking behavior for more consistency at longer ranges, and improve consistency when traveling over rough terrain. So that is the Arc Hunter Slide Uppercut. Then we also have Bonk Hammer and Banner of War. This is something that a lot of people were expecting. Banner of War. Increase the number of enemy defeats necessary to level up the banner stack by approximately double, increasing the amount of time added per enemy defeat at each level to compensate. These values vary depending on the type of target defeated. Fixed an issue where unpowered swords were being granted a damage by boost of Banner of War. So they're not changing anything damage-wise, they're only changing how hard it is to build up stacks, but it also will last longer, it seems, or at least will be given more time per. Then Throwing Hammer. When picked up, now returns melee energy over 1.4 seconds rather than instantly. Increases projectile tracking state by about 20%. So, from the sound of it, instead of being an instant refresh, it's just going to be 1 or 2 seconds to restore it. It doesn't sound so terrible. 1.4 seconds in the game is actually not that quick, so you won't be able to throwing it so much, but, you know, here's hoping that actually makes it work. And then for Soul Invictus, reduce the maximum sunspot duration from 20 seconds to 12 seconds. The duration is only ever reached when the player is standing inside the sunspot. Sunspot duration without the owner standing inside it remains unchanged at 5 seconds. Interesting. And then for Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn, increased base cooldown from 417 seconds to 455 seconds. That feels pointless. Honestly, they are so easy to be earned anyway naturally at this point. I'm just going to leave that alone anyways. So, changes to Stasis. Now getting start on fragments. Whisper Hedrons removed the -10 strength. Let's see, Whisper of Impotence now adds resilience. Whisper of Shores no longer provides 10 resilience. Boo. Whisper of Hunger stat penalty changed from -10 mobility and -10 intellect to -20 strength. That's nice. Whisper of Bonds removed the discipline penalty. Oh, that's always nice. For Hunters, Withering Blade, their melee ability, increased projectile speed by 10%, maximum lifetime by 10%, maximum bounce count from 2 to 3, and increased tracking consistency. That is nice for PvE. For PvP, that might be crazy. I hope they're being done separately. Yeah, Winter Shroud and PvE. Winter Shroud is getting an update. Let's see. Increased low stacks applied to PvE combatants from 40 to 60. Increased slow duration from 4 seconds to 8 seconds. Increased slow size in PvE from 8 meters to 9. Interesting. For our Stasis Titan. Now players on hit, now slow players on hit, a behavior previously removed in hotfix 3.0.2. Fixed an issue where Shiver Strike would not function with the melee kickstart armor mod. So, partial fixing and partial reverting. That's nice. And Glacial Quake now freezes nearby players on cast. A behavior previously removed. On cast freeze tempest or impulse size versus players been reduced a little bit. So basically, they're just changing previous changes and fixing issues. Fixed an issue where Howl the Storm was not consistently freezing targets in contact with the created stasis crystals. Man. Stasis Titan, you needed some love, and basically you just got reverted things that don't seem to be love. It just seems to be ways to poke you without going hard. Then for Frost Pulse and Warlocks, basically the Super Bolt significantly increases consistency against fast-moving target. This change involved reworking how the stability freezes to targets, reducing latency when the... Oh wait, no, this is the... Rift Slow. This change in freeze detonation size versus PvE increments increased by 0.5 meter. Melee change for Stasis Warlocks. Increased irritation size when impacting the environment from 1.5 meters to 2, so it has a little more splash damage. And for general, let's see, Shade Binders. Reduced cooldown of Glacier Grenade from 152 to 121. The cooldown penalties for Dust Field and Cold Snap grenades when Bleak Watcher is equipped have also been updated, so their cooldown times match the new Glacier Grenade cooldown time. And while Cold Snap Grenade's reliability has significantly improved with recent passes, there are still instances where it can fail to meet expectations. Fixed an issue where Cold Snap Seekers were not consistently created in the direction of the projectile after it bounced. Increased arming shape size from 0.9 to 1.2. Tracking strength now ramps down from full strength. This sounds like... Actually, no, Cold Snap. It's not Dustfield. Man, I'm losing my mind. So, a buff to Osmiomancy grenades, basically. Finally, increasing the bonus damage that special weapons deal to frozen targets by a small amount. Increased special ammo weapon damage from 5% to 10%. And so, these are not the only changes. A new stasis keyword we're tentatively calling Frost Armor, aimed at addressing some of the players' feedback regarding survivability when running stasis, particularly when not using Whisper of Rhyme and Whisper of Chains. Additional tuning changes and reworks to existing stasis fragment, adding additional behavior to harvest aspects. Tune in next week for the full list of patch notes, which will include a few items we didn't mention here. As always, continue to adjust feedback. So, more to come, hopefully. And now some of these changes, which I believe are the ones that they basically spoiled early on when they changed them in-game without telling anyone. Throwing knives for Shards of Galanor now grants super energy range between plus 2.5% and 5% depending on the enemy type killed. And they didn't specify, so that sounds like it can be a fan of blades, the weighted knife, anything. Ophidius Faith knife now grants a stacking damage bonus up to 5 seconds to throwing knife. Dodging refreshes the duration. Interesting. For Stompies, let's see. Removed requirement to have full class ability energy to benefit from the movement abilities. Reduce the airborne lateral acceleration button. Now provides damage resistance against commands by airborne. If this is only PvE, I don't care. But if this is also a PvP change, literally you're removing every nerf that was supposed to put Stompies in place, but is still being abused. Regardless, moving on. Mechanier's Trick Sleeves. The sidearm damage bonus now persists for 5 seconds after your shield begins to recharge. Sidearm kills extend the damage bonus's duration by 3 seconds, completely reloading your sidearm from reserves. The damage bonus has been reduced in PvP to compensate for it lasting longer, is now a plus 10 down from plus 35%. Bombardiers now apply 20 slow stacks to enemy players and 40 slow stacks to PvE combatants, I'm assuming when using a Stasis subclass. Triton Vice, the glaive melee thing, increased glaive melee damage when surrounded to double damage for both PvE and PvP, up from 30% and 10% in PvE. Celestial Nighthawk. Precision kills now grant super energy ranging between 1.5 and 4.5, depending on the type of damage killed. So Celestial Nighthawk might just be generally more, instead of boss damage, just removing hard target stuff more consistently. I don't know if it's going to make it anything. I literally saw a clip where just supposedly 1-2 punch and an Atheris weighted knife outdamaged Celestial Nighthawk with Radiant, and even if 1-2 punch isn't applying, that only is worse. Then for Titan, Severance Enclosure increases size and damage of the explosion. Yes! I actually enjoy this thing. Kills when the exotic's explosion will now trigger an additional explosion. Yes! My build is possibly going to be nuts. Harrigan Greaves, you now have to be airborne for a brief period of time before the exotic effects apply, so no cheesing. Damaging champions, tormentors, or mini-bosses with a shoulder charge deals increased damage and refunds your melee energy. Interesting. Wormgod Caress, the Burning Fist exotic effect has been reworked. It is now a meter that increases with kills and finishers and decays over time. The meter is broken up into 5 sections which will provide escalating melee and glaive damage bonuses. The upper end of the meter also provides escalating weapon damage bonuses. As the meter decays, it passes back to the earlier tiers. Rather than deactivating immediately, this meter decays more quickly the more full it is. Interesting. Ashen Wake is now unstoppable for fusion grenades. Interesting. Synthesept nerf. Removed extended lunge melee lunge distance. Now improves weapon handling and reload speed. Reduces the PvE surrounded melee damage bonus to 165% down from triple damage. Let's see, and increases glaive melee damage bonus to double from 50. So they're buffing glaive, but reducing the general melee bonus. I'm assuming to nerf Banner of War / Stompy. And then Precious Scars kills weapon matching your subclass. Now apply Restoration Tier 1 for 1.5 seconds in PvP and 3 seconds in PvE. Might start using Precious Scars again. That was an old favorite during the Beyond Light days. For Warlock, Balador's Wrath Reavers. Now when you cast a Frost Pulse Rift, nearby allies gain a Tier 2 Stasis Surge bonus for 10 seconds in PvE, 5 in PvP. They also gain 50 HP Overshield. Interesting. A Stasis damage bonus provides to allies by the Winter's Wrath Shockwave. Now is the Tier 4 Weapon Surge bonus. When your Winter's Wrath ends, you gain Tier 4 Weapon Surge as well. So basically, the Titan Elemental stuff. Apotheosis Veil, casting your super now grants Cure Tier 3 for you and your allies. After your super ends, you now gain temporarily increased melee and grenade regen for 8 seconds. What is Apotheosis? I forget. That must be one of the unused ones completely. Felwinters. Move the size of the weakening burst into rotation of weaken up 1 tier against all targets except for the finishers against bosses, which remains the maximum size into rotation. Karnsteins. Melee kills now grant Cure Tier 3 and Restoration Tier 1 for 8 seconds. Finishers now grant Cure Tier 3 and Restoration Tier 2 for 8 seconds. So Karnstein might be the new survivability thing. Aeon Cult, basically all the Aeon exotics, all received the following changes to their Sect mod. So specifically, Sect of Force. This is going to be a while. Rapid precision hits provide quicker reload and weapon swap speeds, and the bonus now lasts for 10 seconds up from 6. No longer grants bonus melee grenade or super energy on stunning a champion or defeating a boss or mini-boss. Instead, stunning a champion or rapid precision hits against champions, elites, or mini-bosses will mark them for your allies. Allies deal additional damage to these marked targets. When target is first marked, nearby Aeon Cults who did not have this role gain a grenade and melee energy. Interesting. Sect of Insight, nearby Aeon Cults who do not have the Sect of Insight role equipped, no longer gaining bonus to weapon damage for a short time. Instead, they gain a burst of super energy. And Vigor now provides damage resistance against combatants when an ally dies or resurrected, additionally to the existing class ability energy. When you cast your super, nearby allies no longer gain an instant burst of healing or an overshield. Instead, nearby critically wounded allies gain resistance from combatants as long as they stay near you. Nearby Aeon Cult allies who do not have this sect will also recover class ability energy. There are also changes planned for the exotic to make them more... There will be more available when Season Wish launches. Okay. I didn't see anything change to the finishers granting heavy ammo, so that is good. That is good. Now, armor mod changes. Heavy-handed firepower and Reaper. These now have a 10-second cooldown for generating an orb of power. Sad. Reaper also requires a kill to be secured within 10 seconds of your class ability. Sad. Kickstart across the board now provides between 16% and 45% and requires at least a single armor charge to be consumed. Momentum transfer, bolstering detonation, impact induction, and focusing strike now provide 12, 17, and 20% for 1, 2, or 3. I can't tell if those are nerfs. I don't see anything that says nerf, but I can't exactly tell. But then Outreach and Bomber now provides ability energy 12, 17, and respectively. Outreach, Bomber, Distribution. Numbers. It's hard to say if anything in that was a nerf officially. I am not exactly sure how that works out via the previous. They didn't say nerf or buff. But yeah, allegedly, they are also working on the in-game LFG, so there you go. First test will be on Rage, just to keep you aware. If you haven't gotten it, there is an article. I will not be doing that in this video, probably not doing the video at all. And then the Bungie usual thing, they've updated some archives from previous season, going back to, let's see, what was this? Shadowkeep, Season of the Undying, and Season 9, as well as, I guess, story moments from the General Light and Darkness saga. And let's see, store deals, I guess Spire of Savings. Some stuff is discounted, I'm assuming for Black Friday. Let's see. We'll have a $7 flat rate shipping. The Bungie store sale ends on December 1st. The new Wishing Well emblem will also be available for purchases made on November 24th later this season. Okay. And then the player support report. Of course, as usual, season's ending. Be sure to sort out your stuff. Updated chat filtering. To minimize unintended behavior, this will be the first step of the multi-phase rollout, and we will continually audit the filler's performance and update its rules. Players can still toggle allow profanity on and off through the in-game social settings. However, within the initial rollout, some of these settings may be overridden by the new filters. This means that players may temporarily see terms that were previously hidden by their personal settings. We are working to resolve this in a future phase. Oh no, bad language. But the system will prioritize 13 languages, dialect officially supported by the Destiny 2 community. Players chat in non-supported languages may experience the system filtering out words that do not violate the code of conduct, working with that. Initially, the filter system will automatically filter language, but not have any effect on player accounts. However, while auditing the system performance, Bungie staff may manually act on behavior that violates the code of conduct. So no hate speech, but you can still be a little vulgar and make the dark jokes with your friends. While we continue various known issues, the Ascendancy rocket launcher does not appear in the previous screen of the Legacy Gear menu at the Monument to Lost Lights. The All for One Crota's End raid challenge may not be completing for players who correctly meet the conditions after the challenge. Of course, update the known issues article if you come across anything and say something to help for them. And then at that point, we have movies and arts of the week. Holy, that is interesting. I gotta commend who made that. That is unique. Well, on that note, that is the end. This is one of those end of season, pre-new season, really long detailed TWABs. But hopefully you stuck with me, and hopefully you share some of the opinions I do. I am generally while most of the nerfs are good, and obviously I've already voiced my opinions on some things. The nerf to Restoration Devour and Woven Mail might make it hard because those are what we use to survive the shit pits. And at the same time, if we're surviving, we're not doing as much damage. So, Bungie, get with your own ideas here. On that note, my name is Matt Scorpion. I'll see you in the next video.